So hey, continuing talking about different setups, like Kurt described on this Haley Strategic holster, it's got the felt on it. One of the considerations to remember is if it's not comfortable, you're not going to carry it full time. In fact, a lot of times I see people carrying it, especially with the State Department, because they're just notorious for it. Their diplomatic security typically wears civilian clothing, but they have their setups in different areas. And so instead of concealing or working the kit problem, they'll upgrade everything else. What I mean is they'll run like a double XL shirt or a cover shirt that grossly covers a side carry. Or, if they're carrying an appendix, they'll just wear a really extra large shirt and then they'll have their body armor underneath it, which is obviously in a civilian, the transition to that in the civilian sector is you're printing or it's uncomfortable and you're adjusting. Look, you don't want to get out of the car and have to readjust your holster every single time. In fact, I used to do that with a lot of other holsters that I used because they weren't very comfortable. You have to get the right holster for the right setup, and that might be different holsters for different setups. Yeah. I mean, when I was a contractor, I used to carry this on my ankle, which is just basically a textile. It's nylon, elastic, and that goes around your ankle, carries a Glock 43, an IFAK, a tourniquet, an extra magazine, whatever you need to conceal carry into venues. Well, obviously, if you're not wearing pants, that's a consideration. If you don't have a belt, for example, this kind of holster made by Haley Strategic that is built, the hardware is built for a belt, it's going to be difficult to conceal that. One of the considerations is a minimalist type setup. Minimalist type setup would be something like this, which is a trigger guard. I think this one's made by Raven Concealment. They actually don't really make these anymore, and it hasn't been marketed well because they haven't provided the why. And I think this setup is one of the best uses of a setup because my thinking is these kind of holsters are built to properly holster the gun, right, to put it away. But to me, if it's safely concealed, that's what I'm worried about is it's safely concealed on my person, but when I draw it, I can go to work with it. And I'm not too concerned about drawing, shooting a drill, putting it away. And so this, a more robust setup might not be the answer. This on a pair of board shorts might not be the answer that you're looking for. This kind of setup that's on a lanyard, set up like this, where the lanyard attaches to your pants, where you pull the gun, and now you can go to work with a single action pistol that has no external safety outside of the trigger. Could be the answer that you're looking for.
And it's pretty fast.
And it's really fast.
Yeah.
Other considerations are types of bags. We don't have any bags on this table, but I used to carry like a Merce, like a Patagonia Stealth Atom fly fishing bag that looks normal in civilian society. You can get away with wearing it, but you could go into it, reach for your gun just as fast as you could off your waistband, especially when you know that you have to get to it. Kurt, let's talk about gun setups, like modifications. What are some things that are some staples, some mods that we need to do for EDC?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about is something that actually was being spread, I think several years ago is when I started hearing people talking about actually lightening triggers on their concealed firearms. I will tell you right now, I think that's a bad idea. Anytime you're putting a firearm in your waistband and now you have a competition lightened trigger, you're asking for a disaster to happen. So I run stock triggers on all my concealed carry stuff.
Well, we've seen them fail too. We've actually
absolutely
seen them fail.
Yeah, which is obviously really dangerous because you think about where you're placing the firearm if you're carrying appendix or even if you're carrying on your side, and now you have an accidental discharge because of a malfunction, a mechanical malfunction with the firearm, or because you just didn't train enough and you left your finger inside of the trigger well and then you went to holster the gun. Now the trigger's lightened. You can see how kind of those things together are going to create a problem, and it could be catastrophic. So first things with concealed carry guns, I keep stock triggers on my guns because I want a little bit heavier trigger. I want that stock trigger. And if anybody's out there telling you that you're going to be slower and a bunch of garbage that goes along with that, I would definitely question that. So anyways, but with my Glock 43, some of the things I want to talk about is working basically from the magazine up the pistol. So with the magazine, on a Glock 43, the regular magazine capacity is 6 rounds. That's not a lot of, ammunition to defend yourself. However, I think that it can still be done even if you're carrying the 6-rounders. But one of the things that you and I have both done with our Glock 43s, we've put magazine extensions that allow us to carry 8 rounds in all of our magazines. And then, you're carrying 8 and then 1 in the chamber, so 9 technically. But anyways, that's obviously something that you want to do. You want to upgrade your magazine so you have a little bit more capacity with ammunition on your carry, especially if you're only carrying 1 mag inside of the gun. Moving up on the pistol grip, hey, there's lots of things that you can do, obviously with the Glock and a lot of other modern firearms. And one of them is stimpling on a grip to help give you, better friction or a better grip in general, just in the sense of grabbing the gun. And then essentially what that stimpling looks like is it just makes the plastic on the firearm itself a little bit more aggressive, so that allows you to have better retention, is one of the things that we always talk about. And then, just making the grip a little bit rougher so that way you can grab onto it easier. Moving up to the slide itself and internals, I'll be honest with you, with my Glock 43, I've kept it stock except for changing out some stuff with the magazine. And then with this, I'm running a Trigicon. You can't see it right now, but it's actually a night sight. So, when we talk about everyday carry and the distance at which engagements happen where you're protecting yourself, typically they're pretty close, right? Because somebody walks up, it's, they walk up, typically it's 3 yards is what, the FBI and law enforcement says when something happens with you, right?
Confined spaces.
Yeah, you're in a confined space. So now, I've got a small pistol. I draw that pistol to defend myself. That engagement zone or that distance is extremely close. So what I'm running on here is basically a big white dot, and then at night it's got a little glow in the dark center of the actual front sight post. So if somebody's that close to me, we teach it all the time in classes, your natural point of aim or your natural point of index when the pistol comes out, you're going to have a high probability of hitting somebody. So I like this. It's a big white dot. I put the white dot on somebody, they're close to me, I pull the trigger, and I defend myself, get the job done. As far as the rear sight, obviously there's a lot of different options there. You can run Dawson adjustables. Trigicon makes a set. There's tons of companies out there. The only thing that I would caution you on all of this is make sure that you're going to somebody that has the experience to install the equipment, so that way they're not inducing a mechanical malfunction in your pistol, which, worst case scenario causes your life because the pistol malfunctions or a sight falls off or something crazy like that, and you can't use the tool the way it was intended to be used.
What's your thoughts on RMRs and aim points, dots on slides?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan. So not only do I run a Glock 43, but I also have a Glock 19 from Statement Defense. On that Glock 19, I'm running a Gen 2 RMR on that slide. I think it's very practical, and I think, in the somewhat advancement of firearms and sights, when you get that red dot zeroed, that thing is on. Mine is zeroed at 50 yards. And so the practical application of that, especially for somebody that's trying to learn the fundamentals of marksmanship, you tell them, if it's your wife, your girlfriend, if it's one of your buddies that's learning how to shoot, now you're taking this red dot and you're telling them, hey, just line the red dot up with the target and engage it, instead of having to go through, hey, lining up the front and rear sight, equal height, equal light, all the things that we learned when we were in the military, when we were shooting iron sights. So it doesn't negate the fact that you have to learn the fundamentals, but it does, I think, allow for an easier understanding of putting a dot on somebody and pulling the trigger.
Yeah, I think self-defense pistols, one of the factors you got to look at when doing aftermarket anything is reliability, consistency. It has to be repeatable and reliable. Fieldcraft is going to start building pistols and rifles that are made for EDC and for EDM exclusively, which means that they're reliable, they're consistent. The partners that we work with that provide the aftermarket components and the custom builds that we do not affect the internals or functionality of the weapon systems, because we've actually seen it fail.
Right.
I had a tricked out Glock 2 years ago that would slam fire when I would chamber around. Basically, it was a failure in the trigger spring and more than likely the plunger spring. And what that did was basically protrude the trigger or the firing pin which basically
Yeah, so when the slide went forward,
so I
it hit
racked
the
it,
primer.
and everybody's like, "You had an AD," and I was like, "No, I promise, I'll show you. I can repeat it." And I couldn't repeat it for a while. I'm like, "Yeah," but then I repeated it. No big deal. So lastly, let's talk about tourniquets, because there's different applications for tourniquets, and I'll be honest. Look, I like tourniquets, and we teach tourniquets. It's very important, but there needs to be a better answer for concealing them and for carrying them. There's not a lot of companies that are doing a lot of things. I'm giving you that tidbit because we'll be doing it here shortly. Just coming up with creative ways on how to stow it and stow it comfortably. Even a rat tourniquet, typically, I carry this in my EDM, and I carry it in my seat, in my pouch, on my seat covers.
Yep.
And so I have a pistol in there, but I also have a tourniquet. And if I need it or I feel like I'm going into a venue, I'll grab it, put it in my pocket. And I'll keep this is the rat tourniquet, the rapid application tourniquet. I'll keep it rolled up, just shove it in my pocket. There's other options if you got soft tees, if you got cat tourniquets. Look, the bottom line is you need to carry a tourniquet somewhere. It needs to be in your EDM, which is an accessible vehicle that's close to you, or it needs to be on your person. And again, the environment dictates that. If you're going into a country concert where it's hard to get to your vehicle or hard to get anywhere and something catastrophic happens, you need to be able to access that. So it doesn't hurt for you to take this out of your EDM, your everyday mobility, and stick it in your everyday carry and convert it. I would do both. If I'm in a restaurant, to be honest, if my car is parked out front, I'm not going to bring this into the restaurant and stick it in my cargo pants, but I'll have it somewhere readily available.
Right. You want to talk about clothing considerations real quick?
So both of us are wearing cool clothes, KUHL. It's just an outdoor brand of clothing, but this is something typical you'll see me and Kurt in. But some of the considerations or how you're dressing in the environment that you're in. Today it's in Prescott. The temperature's kind of lowered. It's raining. Kurt's got a raining jacket. You want to talk about that setup?
Yeah, so real quick, this is something that Mike and I used to do when we were young dudes on a team. We used to shoot a lot of IPSC and IDPA competitions, and we would always talk through, because you had to shoot from concealment with a lot of those, even if we were running some duty rigs and stuff like that. But one of the things that is kind of a basic staple of concealed carry, or EDC, if you will, if you're wearing a jacket, you take your car keys, or right now I'm using my iPhone, and you throw it in a pocket. And the reason why we do that is because it's nice to have some weighted things in the pockets. So now imagine, I've got the pistol inside of my waistband. I'm appendix carry, right? The jacket's sitting here. I'm not imprinting. Nobody knows that I'm carrying. A self-defense situation comes up. I need to protect myself, my family, and I want to be able to clear this garment away from the center line of my body, which is where I'm actually drawing the pistol from, right? So when I'm actually sweeping clothes away, i.e. here with the jacket, okay, we want to try to get something weighted so it clears off of me, and it gives me the space where I have time to actually get under the shirt and then draw the pistol. So you can see it flopping back. That's okay. That's not a big deal, but having something weighted in there to clear the garment, to give me enough time to clear the t-shirt, right, to get underneath and actually draw the pistol from concealment is one of the goals that we want to go after. And again, a lot of practical things that we carry on us every day, because remember, this has got to be, it's got to be practical, like Mike said, reliable, repeatable. Everything that you do, you should be applying those principles to everyday carry. So, I've got my phone in there. You can have your car keys in there. It's something you carry all the time, right? We've always got our keys. We've always got our phone. And you can throw those in the jacket pocket to go ahead and clear away an outer garment from, your EDC.
Yeah, another consideration is if you're carrying a jacket like this, is carrying the concealed carry inside of your jacket pocket. If you're somewhere where it's cold, having access to this, where your hands would typically be in your pocket, where it's freezing, you're in a blizzard pumping gas, your hand could be literally where your gun is actually located. And in a bulky jacket that's built for warmth, it's a reliable place to put a gun that's concealed. I usually typically carry a Ruger LCR. It's a hammerless J-frame pistol that's synthetic that allows you to shoot 38 plus P. So basically a 38 round that's just got more gunpowder and more butt behind it. I would carry that there because it's got a long trigger pull. There's no hammer, and there's no functioning slide to induce a malfunction.
Right.
You shoot this from your pocket, you're going to potentially induce a malfunction with clothes and material getting caught up. Most of these semi-automatic pistols will get, they would cause a malfunction inside that pocket. A hammerless revolver is not going to do that. Yeah. Obviously, the take back from that is you're going to lose magazine capacity. You're going to go from 17 plus 2 plus 3 to potentially 5 to 6 rounds in a J-frame revolver, especially if it's a 38 plus P. So yeah, just some considerations. You know, this is a short block of instruction on EDC. We're going to break out a lot of the things that we talked about in shorter videos to isolate them, to talk a little bit more in depth about them. But we appreciate you guys tuning in.
Thanks.
Thanks.